Hi guys, my name's Colleen. Welcome to Good Dog Grooming. Today I'm talking about blade lengths, comb attachment lengths, and the A5 detachable blade lengths, and I'm going to try to demystify that for you. Let me start by giving you a quick rundown about these clippers, okay? Most groomers are either going to have a cordless mini clipper with a 5-in-1 blade. Mine is the WAHL BRAVURA. This blade changes length. There's 5 different lengths. We'll talk about all the lengths in a minute. That came with a fixed 45 that I have never used. I imagine that groomers who work in a veterinary office might use this. Fixed meaning it's not adjustable, it is only that length. And so it's an option to use that on that clipper. But I never do. I only use the 5-in-1. On your big clippers, these are called A5 detachable blades. And usually these clippers are corded, although I have seen some that are cordless, like a battery powered that the battery pulls out and you charge it separately. But typically they have this kind of a tab that you put the blade on and snap on that way. And you push this in to release it and pull the blade off, change to a different length. We're going to talk about the different lengths that are commonly used of these as well. Now it's common to wonder why the heck you need 2 tools when they both cut hair and some of them cut to the same length. So let's just talk about which blades cut to what length and which comb attachments cut to what length. Now a typical set like this of the comb attachments fits on these clippers. And you would set your clipper to the 40, which is the shortest, in order to use it. And you would use it like that on the dog. And a typical blade from this detachable set, you would use just by itself without a comb attachment. But just to make things that much more confusing, they do make a comb attachment set just like this, but bigger, that will fit over this. And what you need in that case, it's gonna look a little more like this, but it's actually a 30 blade. Now here's a 10, and your comb attachments will go over a 10, but a 30 blade, which I don't own, is actually better if you're using a comb attachment with the big clippers. Here's what I love about this. Every one of these, whether they're the detachable or these comb attachments, has the millimeters listed on here. Let's look up close at that. All right, so this is gonna say on there, it's got a bunch of stuff on there. WAHL number 5, 3 millimeter, 1/8 inch. All right, so let's lay these out. What's great about these sets is it's literally just every 1/8 of an inch up through 1 inch. So basically, the numbers are listed on this, and they're also listed on the back of these. For this WAHL set, there's different brands, but there's a 5, 4, 2, 1, a 0, that's usually called an O comb. There's an A, a C, and an E. Right? I don't know where they came up with which numbers and letters to use for which one, but I do know that each one represents an 1/8 of an inch step up, all the way to the 1 inch length. Now let's look at the actual distance. Because you cut like this, the distance that the length that you're cutting the fur is really from this cutting blade to this surface here, okay? That's why sometimes if you're shaving a dog, that's hard to do from the single. Sometimes if you're shaving a dog, you can cheat and get a longer length by standing this up briefly. Let's say you need a longer length on some part of the dog, because you're actually cutting from the cutting blade to here, and that's longer than from here to here. So that's a little cheat code. Now let's talk about how these compare to your detachable blades. Now once again, I will emphasize, when you use the corded clippers with the A5 type detachable blades, you typically do not need comb attachments. This set of comb attachments only fits on the mini clipper 5-in-1 adjustable blade, but you can buy a different set that looks very similar for this tool, in which case you would use a 30 blade on the tool and then use your comb attachment over that 30 blade. Let me talk about the most common blade lengths that groomers use on the big clippers. Right now, they're not in line with the right length yet. I'm gonna place them properly. But I'm gonna talk about these lengths, and I'm gonna include this. I'm gonna put it here because the 5 lengths that this blade will achieve for you are short. They're very short, and I've got shortest at the bottom and longest at the top there. Now let's place these where they go. I'm putting the 5-in-1 detachable blade way at the bottom. Literally, I'm gonna place it at the 0 mark, just because this is a rough representation here, and show you that the very shortest is the 40, and that's designated as a 0.5 millimeter. I personally only use the 40 for the bottom of the pads and a few specific uses like that, and I have it set on the 40 when I use any of the comb attachments. If I click it one over, it becomes a 30. I use the 30 blade on the inside of the ears. Click it to the middle, that's the 15. I use the 15, which is designated as 1.5 millimeter on potty area. And I also use a 15 when I'm doing a clean poodle face. Oh, and I forgot to mention that I use a 40 when I'm doing clean poodle feet, which is our first shortest one we did. Let's click it one more over. Now we're looking at a 10. Now here's what's interesting. That 10, which is the second to the longest option that this has, is the same as our detachable 10 that we commonly use to make dogs super duper short. 10 is about the shortest most groomers will shave any dog's body. So at that point, these should be next to each other because the 10 is here. It does go one longer, which is actually a 9 on this numbering scale. And the 9 is a 2 millimeter. And I occasionally use a 9. Let's say I'm shaving a dog's body in a 7, but it's a really small dog. And the 7, which looks like this, is a little too pokey on those dogs' little legs. And the hairs are just being a little difficult because it's very hard to get a smooth shave down around a little skinny dog's legs. Sometimes I will cheat and use a 9, which is just an eensy bit shorter than a 7, with my mini clippers around that dog's leg with the grain still. All right, so let's place this here. Let's place that there. Let's talk about our 7. 7 is a very common shave down blade. Summer shave down. All of these blades say the millimeters. On any brand, I have always seen the millimeters listed. And that's your cheat code if you're trying to figure out which comb attachment compares to which detachable blade. Well, then just look for that millimeter. Because the number 5 comb attachment, which is sometimes called a guard, number 5 guard, says 3 millimeters, it's my closest to this 7, which is a 4 millimeter. I want to place that 7 right here because it's basically the most comparable to our 5 blade in the WAHL set. And I will say too that in other brands, I have seen a 7 that was listed as a 3.5 millimeter. And so it's not always consistent even across brands, okay? The next ones we're gonna talk about here is a 5, a 4, a 3, and a 5/8 blade. Let's figure out where they go in this line. Number 5 is designated as a 6 millimeter. And so I always say it's the comparable length to our number 4 comb or number 4 guard. 4 blade is an 8 millimeter. And so technically it falls right in between our 4 and our 2, which sometimes makes me wonder, why isn't there a 3? But that's just the way it is. Let's look at this one here. This is a 3. It's a 10 millimeter blade, which puts it right in line with our 2 comb. Those are a matching length. Now let's look at, this is the longest blade that groomers typically use. It's a 5/8 blade, 16 millimeter. So that puts it in line here with our 5/8 O comb. Now, if you're looking to keep a dog longer than this, typically it's not common to have a detachable blade that's longer than that, meaning you're looking at using the comb attachments over a really short blade, or a comb attachment large set over your 30 blade on the corded clippers. Now, most comb attachment sets top out at this 1-inch length, meaning if you've got a doodle and you're just dying for it to be as long as possible and you want to shave it down and give it a haircut all over, but you want that fur that is remaining on the dog's body to be longer than 1 inch, you are out of luck because these max out here. Except there are a couple of sets that sell a couple of bonus big ones. I've heard tell of an Oster set that has a 1.25 inch, a 1.5 inch, and a 2 inch. So I'm gonna do my best to find that and link that for you. I also know of an Arturo set that contains a 1.25 inch. So I'll find a link to that for you guys as well. Typically, if you're trying to keep a dog longer than that, you're looking at a scissor cut only. And in that case, you have to brush that dog so much. The upkeep is incredible. It is a lot of work, but it's not impossible. So if that suits your fancy, just understand that a scissor cut all over takes a lot more skill to make it look good. And so it's gonna cost more if you're getting that done at a groomer. And not all groomers even will willingly do that. All right, so just to reiterate, the 45 blade, I have never used it in my whole career. This is really more of a surgical blade. 5-in-1 blade on mini clippers is versatile, battery powered, so the cord's not getting in your way. Rechargeable, I think it comes with a stand that you can plug this into, and so the thing will charge in a stand for you, or you can just plug it directly in to charge it. So you get the versatility there. And the advantage of the corded clippers is you get the power. So if you have a dog with tougher fur and you just want to do some shave downs, I would recommend that. So if you're a groomer, I recommend both. But if you're just a dog owner trying to shave down your own dog, you can pick one or the other based on your needs. If you had a small Yorkie, for example, with fairly easy fur, then I believe you could get away with having mini clippers with these comb attachments. But if you have a bigger dog that you just want to kind of shave down regularly in a nice short summer cut, you're going to be getting bigger clippers with the more power. And the other thing to bear in mind is you might not need all the lengths in that case, because each of these blades cost anywhere from $25 to $30 for one blade. But you will want multiple blades of the same length, depending on how big your dog is, because the friction causes these blades to heat up, and in which case you're going to need to take it off, let it cool, or you can use Clipper Cool, which is a fast evaporating spray that you spray on, and then you leave it to cool while you put your other 7 blade on and work with that. And while that's cooling, this is heating up, and you can switch them. And as a groomer, I work so much that I have about 5-7 blades. So when I get one hot, I set it aside, put the second one on, it gets hot, set it aside, put the third one on, and I just keep cycling through. By the time I get to my 5th one, if I need the 6th one, which usually I don't because I can shave a whole dog in that amount of time, but if I need to go back to the first one, it's cool by then. But I am also a fan of Clipper Cool. All right, guys, so that's typically how that all works. Look forward to a video I am planning in which I will show what each of these looks like on a dog's body. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was a useful one, and please let me know what else you are curious about. Put it in the comments below, and I will see you next time. Oh hey, it's my reflection in the chair.